Okay, so let's talk about what it means to catch green lights.
Yeah.
Explain the concept to these awesome listeners.
So let's break it down. The literal meaning is, look, green lights are designed on the highways of life to keep traffic flowing. They say proceed, go onward. Yes, we agree with what you're doing. Carry on. Then we have red and yellow lights. They stop us and they slow us down. The red and yellow lights in life, we don't usually like those when we hit them. They're not what we want. They're hardships. They're interventions. They're an argument. They're a slap in the face. They're a jackknife. They're a death. They're COVID. But eventually, as they do on the highway, those red and yellow lights do turn green. Now, how do they turn green? It can sometimes turn green by the way we see the yellow and red. Hey, you know what? There's a meaning in this pause. There's a reason I'm stopped right now. There's a reason my flow has been stopped, that I'm getting introspective, doing inventory in my so-said life. And in noticing that and learning those lessons, that's when we turn a yellow and red light in our life green. We can engineer green lights for ourselves. We can make decisions every day and engineer our lives to tee ourselves up and be kind to our future selves to tee up more green lights in our future. Sometimes green lights just fall on our lap. We're just in the zone, man. Can't get in the perfect line in the checkout line at the supermarket. And it was quicker than the one that was half as short next to us. Sometimes we just roll and they happen. But the main sort of thread or baseline is that eventually the red and yellows turn green. When do we notice that? Sometimes we notice it when we're in them. Sometimes we notice it next week, next month, next year. Sometimes we're not going to notice how those red and yellow lights are green until we're on our deathbed. And I also believe that sometimes those green lights from some of our red and yellow lights in life will not be realized maybe until our great grandkids realize them. So it's not foolish optimism. It is constructive optimism, but it is about creating them and also turning yellow and reds and green in our lives, or seeing how they turn green later in our lives.
What just is so, it's like awe-inspiring is that you're literally the definition of like the biggest movie star in the whole universe, and you never made things your identity. Like reading this book, and we just moved out of LA. We were there 17 years. And just reading this book and like looking at the way you lived in LA and like interacted with your journey, like you are the only celebrity I can think of who's so much more human than anything else. Like none of that defines you. So it seems to me like everything was green lights, because in a way you accept and are in the flow with everything. And so many of my listeners, Matthew, they care so much what people think about them. And they're so worried about pleasing everybody. And I wonder what you would say to them about that, because that doesn't seem to be who you are.
Well, and let's be very clear. I care about pleasing people too. I care, I do. That's human nature. That's human nature. There's a great Sammy Davis Jr. quote. You may know it. I don't know what success is, but I know failure is trying to please everybody. My favorite word in the world is unanimous. I want unanimous. Guess what? It's not achievable. So while I'm searching for the unachievable, I'm just going to keep trying to keep achieving along the way towards the unachievable, knowing I'm never going to get there. You can't please everybody. There's no way to do it. Look, I've gone through and read all of my bad reviews in my career. Now there are some reviews that on the first line I could tell, oh, that son of a gun was gonna snark me before he wrote this before he even saw the movie. He was already out for me. You know what I mean? So I'm not gonna please that person. There's other ones that I read. I was like, oh, that's good constructive criticism. I think I'm gonna take that with me. I can learn something from that one. Some of it was funny. You cannot please everybody, but it's okay to keep trying. But just don't do it at the expense of yourself. Don't try to please other people at the expense, because you over leverage yourself. We got 24 hours in a day. I write about this in the book. I had a time when I had 5 things on my proverbial Monday morning desk. I was an actor, I was a family man, I was a father, I had my foundation, I had a music label, and a production company. Yeah. And I looked out, and my phone rang from my production company one day, and I went to pick it up, and I paused mid-reach for the phone. because I saw what number it was from, my office. And so immediately while my hand's hanging there, I'm going like, you're pausing to pick up the phone call from your office where you're paying 6 salaries and you're paying the rent. Something's off. That's not good. So I hung up the phone, called my lawyer, shut down the music label, shut down the production company, said I want to be an actor for hire, I want to have the foundation, and I want to be a family man. So I want to make A's in 3 things that I was previously making B's when it was 5 things. So part of it's process of elimination, and you can't really please. You can over leverage yourself to where you got a bunch of little campfires all over the place, but you don't have a big flame anywhere. So pick out your fires that you want to pick out your gardens you want to tend and water those and have one garden that's really growing great produce instead of 5 gardens that are growing weeds.
Well, this jumps ahead towards the end of the book, but since you just mentioned it, I mean, the part of the book where you called your agent and you said, I don't want to make rom-coms, and you cried your eyes out and said to your wife, like, we're really doing this, and you're being offered parts for like $15 million, like on the daily. And you're just like, and it brought me back to the beginning of the book where you said your parents taught you a few things and one of them was not to lie.
Yeah.
And it's just like, that's such a through line in this book. It like brought me to tears. Like, you know how not human that is in this world for a person to be offered that over and over again, over and over again. And you were like, I can't lie. I can't do it. I don't want to do it. Let's talk about that. Let's talk about what happened there.
Well, so I'm rolling. I'd successfully taken the rom-com baton from Hugh Grant and I ran with it.
You were quite good at it. Yep.
Loved it. Loved it too. And I think I did 4 and they were major. They were all good hits. You can go make a rom-com for a middle budget. We were making money. I was the go-to rom-com guy. And right around this time in my life, I think it's about 12 years ago or something like that, Camille and I have shepherded our firstborn son into the world. The only thing I ever knew I wanted to be was a father. It was now true. Camille and I are getting close. I met the woman and I'm with the woman I want to spend the rest of my life with. My life was vital. I got angrier. I got happier. I cried louder. I laughed louder. It was like, man, I was alive, feeling it. And I remember saying, well, my work, these romantic comedies, I like doing them, but when I read one, I feel like I could do it tomorrow morning. And I said, nothing wrong with that. I was like, well, yeah, no, but boy, I want to be challenged. I want to be scared in my boots in the right way about my work. And I said, I want my work to possibly challenge the vitality I have in my life. I remember looking in the mirror and said, look, buddy, if your life's so vital and your work feels like it's not as vital, be thankful that it's in that order because it can go the other way. You know, where your work feels vital and your life doesn't feel vital. So I said, I at least want to challenge the vitality of my life. And I said, well, what I want to do. And I laid it out there, a lot of these things I wanted to do. And guess what? Everything was, no, that's not getting financed with you in that lead. No, you're not getting offered that part. No. So because I couldn't do what I wanted to do, by process of elimination, I decided to stop doing what I was doing. You mentioned it. I cried, wet the floor with tears talking to Camilla about, should I make this strong move in my career to just say no to those things? How long will I go without work? I don't know. I check with my money manager. How do I save my money? I check with my agent. Okay, I got your back. And here we go. Luckily, I had a newborn son and Camilla there to sort of keep me sort of grounded in purpose because it went on for months. First off, nothing came in but romantic comedies. And I'd say, nope, no thank you, no thank you, no thank you. I'd read them, no thank you, no thank you, thank you. That one, you brought it up, $8 million offer. No, thank you. Same script, $10 million offer. No, thank you. Same script, $12.5 million offer. Ellipsis. No, thank you. Let me quit a little bit of pause. Did you say 12.5? Oh, hang on. Now it comes in at 14.5. And what does Mr. Puritanical McConaughey say? Let me read that script again. I read that script again. And guess what? For that amount of money, it was a better written script. It was funnier. I had more angles. I think I can make this work. Oh, yeah, I think this could work. It was the same exact words as the $8 million offer, right. But for that much more money, it was a better written script. So I do end up saying no to that. And I said no to a few others. And that's when Hollywood got the signal that I wasn't going to do rom-coms anymore. Then nothing came in. Absolutely nothing for a total of 20 months. And what happened?
Oh, my God.
And I got a little wobbly along that time. You know, I had,
Whew.
the days were long. I thought about changing careers. I didn't know when, you know, I would find some water in this desert or someone would come to me. Um, but again, I had my son who I was shepherding into the world to keep me sort of grounded with. I knew if I always went to my son and Camilla and the family that you can't go wrong. And if you go there, if you're looking to waste time or you're that bored or you're getting that unsettled, go to that Matthew, and that's never going to be a bad thing to go to. And that helped sustain me along the way until 20 months later, I became a new good idea because I wasn't in the rom-coms. You didn't see me shirtless on the beach. Where the hell did McConaughey go? I unbranded for almost 2 years, and all of a sudden, when I was out of people's eye line, the people didn't know where I was or what I was doing. Somebody goes, "You know, it'd be a good idea for this movie, this dramatic role, McConaughey." And then that's when those roles started coming in. And I took it.
Oh my God. You know, you add up all that money, all those movies that came to you, like water, just so easy. And it's like, whatever that would have totaled, 100 million, $200 million, like that bought you back your soul. Like that. And that's like what your children, that's what for kids, it's not what's taught, it's what's caught, right? What a lesson. Like, that's who my father is. Like, yeah, you could have played all those roles and it wasn't, what was it worth? Like,
Well,
unbelievable test.
good one. We haven't even gone through with our kids about that moment in our lives, but I tell you one that is based on that same thing. And this is all forms of delayed gratification. This is all forms of having a long view and long money, and how do we make long-term investments in ourselves and in our soul. When I won the Oscar for Dallas Buyers Club for Ron Woodruff, my kids came and were like, "Whoa, what's the trophy for?" You remember a year and a half ago when we were on location and you'd wake up in the morning at 7 and Popeye was already gone to work, and then I'd get home at night and have dinner with y'all and have a drink and tuck you in bed, and y'all told me that my neck looked like a giraffe. Remember, I was really skinny. Like, yeah, we remember that. I go, well, what Popeye was doing every day when he left work, the work I was doing that day, a year and a half later, people gave me a trophy and said I did really great work then. So again, that was, they clicked for them. They got, oh, you mean you can do something today that will pay you back tomorrow in life? And I'm like, yeah, that's the ROI. That's the green lights I'm talking about. You can create green lights by the person you are, by the choices you are in our career, in our relationships, if you lay it down today and tomorrow and again.
So good. And let's talk about that movie for a second, because I didn't know until I read this book that you had read that script so many years earlier, and they kept saying, we can't finance it. We can't finance it. Tell everybody that story.
So I read Dallas Buyers Club immediately. Was like, oh, okay, this is the way I'd like to approach this subject with a character like this. This is a period piece age drama, but there's sentimental about it. It had teeth, it had humor, it had humanity. And I was like, oh, I want to attach myself to this. Actually, I want to make this. Check around town. Nobody wants to make a period age drama, especially with Matthew McConaughey in the lead. So I hang on to it. I get what's called attached to it. Now, other people try to come get it. Other directors want to make the movie, but not with me. I run them off. Other actors try to get the script. I run them off. I hang on to it, believing it will have its day. So about a year or so after that 20-month sabbatical, where all of a sudden I come back and I do Killer Joe and what else? Magic Mike's and Mud and Paperboy and I forget what else, some other movies. All of a sudden, I'm getting a little enough traction, maybe enough heat to maybe get Dallas Buyers Club made. But still, no directors are really coming around. Jean-Marc Vallée, I saw this movie Crazy from him, and he was interested in the script. So we met in New York, and he came aboard. And I remember me and the producers and Jean-Marc just started saying, I think it was in October that year, we're doing Dallas Buyers Club in October. October 1, New Orleans. We didn't have any money, but we were doing it. So we start acting like we're a real production. We're casting and moving on and all of a sudden. And behind closed doors, my agent would be like, you know, there's no money for the movie. Yeah, it's not really them. I'm like, no, we're doing it in October. Okay. So everywhere around town, we're doing it in October. And just betting on it, not flinching, not asking permission, not even contextualizing like we're doing it if we can get money. No, we're doing it. And I remember I got a call from Jean-Marc like 8 days before filming. He says, Matthew, I need $7 million to make this movie, but I only have 4.9. I don't know how I'm going to make it, but if you show up on day one, I will show up too. We both showed up. He cut the grip department. Not one light was used on that entire film. We shot it in 25 days for $4.9 million.
Oh my God.
and we just sort of willed it into happening. And then, yeah, that's how we ended up getting that one made.
Oh my God. You are, in a word, awesome and resilient and filled with wonder and just filled with passion. I mean, just to think about, there's one photo in this book where you were not wearing a shirt showing how much you weighed at the time. I mean, the commitment to this part, and of course you got the award. Like, it was ridiculous how well you showed up in that movie. I don't even know that people can really like handle it. Like, it's very intimidating. It's unbelievable. But it's really the through line. And I think it's so good for my audience to hear, because they think Matthew McConaughey can't get something made. I mean, and you just had to keep going with that. And boy, and tell the story about how you say in the book, like, you didn't have your speech written, which I thought, there's no way. You must have known you were probably going to get that, but you didn't.
No, I didn't want to coup de grace. I was like, I'm not. I remember I sat down thinking I was going to write a speech. I was like, well, that's quite arrogant of you, sir, to think you're going to write a speech for something you hadn't gotten yet. I said, I'm not writing that down. I said, no, don't do that. That be, at the very least could be bad karma. So I didn't write anything down. I did write 3 words. I said, thanks, look up to, look forward to. I think I wrote 3 little jots, and then I didn't know, I mean, I had won quite a few awards on the campaign trail leading up to that, but I didn't know. And I remember looking right before they announced names. I just looked at everyone's name, and the one thing that came on my mind is that my name was the only one that started with an M. So I laid my head back and said, I hope I hear "meh," and the winner is "meh, meh." And I heard "meh," and Mom popped up, Bill popped up, whatever popped up. I said, I think they said my name. And then I went up there and said what I said and meant what I meant.
How did that feel for you?
Awesome. It felt like, in some ways, like writing this book, in that it rushed through me, a lot of my history rushed through me. And I'm not someone who looks at my past that much. All my history, the people, the smiles, the support, Camilla delivered me another meal to make sure I stayed on track for the diet. My dad smiled. I saw him smiling. I saw all the so many people that had helped me get there, and they flashed through my head in moments where they had helped me along and cared for me. And I saw them pictures. And the same way I try to, when I pray today, that's what I try to see, is picture the people I love in their most truest forms, and then end up with a picture of me in my own truest form. And sometimes that's the hardest image to capture. But I went through in that moment, I felt those images of those people rush through, of moments where we had an honest moment, and it just came like flashes, 1, 2, 3, 4, however many there were. And then I just talked about the images that I saw.
Oh, it's so awesome. And it makes me cry. I feel like if God has a refrigerator, your picture is like right there on his fridge, just like, this is my guy. This is my ambassador. I mean, you've been this way for so long. Like, now Joe Rogan's like, I'm out, moving to Texas. But like, you've been on this, like, I'm just a human. Like, I'm not getting caught. You've been on this path for such a long time. Like, this is me telling the truth.
That's, I mean, you said it earlier. Let me say this. When I went to write this book, I understand that my celebrity brings a certain platform. Okay, someone's gonna read it because, hey, one kind of wrote. But then I was like, but you've never. I knew. I was like, I'm a celebrity because of who I am. I was a human, a citizen, a child of God, a man who dreamed of being a father, a man who's tried to be a little bit better each day, long before I was ever a celebrity. That's another thing. Now, did I catch obvious breaks along the way and opportunities? Did certain things, did my looks get me to certain tables that maybe I wouldn't be sure? All those things. So I'm not boo-hooing those that like, no, it was all my responsibility. I'm not saying it was all me, but I'm saying it's kind of where Just Keep Living comes from. Hey, wait a minute. What else are we supposed to do? My rights as a human, my rights as a citizen, my rights as a father, as a husband, those precede this fickle thing of fame, which is real, but it's still a mirage. I remember when I sat down to write the day 4, I wrote this down. I said, Matthew, the words in this book need to be worthy to share if they are signed by anonymous. And at the same time, they need to be words that only Matthew McConaughey could have written. So that was the sort of the North Star, because I was like, I'm going to get some some leverage coming in as Matthew McConaughey, the celebrity. But the words, I can't rely on that. That came after. Write about who you are, that you can share, that hopefully people can see themselves in, that have nothing to do with your celebrity. And as you know, you've read it. It's not a dish book. I don't tell all. There's actually not that much of my career and people in it. There's a lot of people in it, but it's not if you want to tell all and you want to go get some Hollywood dirt, don't buy this book.
No, it's amazing. And we're so lucky that we got to have a good seat for part of it, that you even stuck your foot in the celebrity world, that we all got to see your light, because you are so much more human than you are a celebrity. And we all just got to, you shared yourself with all of us. But I feel like I'm one of a zillion people who could say this, but I just hope you know every night when you go to sleep, like, that is what people see. That is what you are a lightning rod for. Like, there is not even a cute 15-year-old girl that doesn't get that. Like, you are just so much more than that. Yeah, it's so obvious.
Well, that makes me tingle to hear you say that, because I can tell you mean it, and that gives me the tingles. I mean, I can say I don't know that all the time. I don't know that every night, but to hear, translation's a big word for me. And I'm always, early on in my career, was like, as an actor, there's what you do, then there's what gets recorded, then there's what gets edited, and then there's what's in the final picture. So it's sort of 4 filters away from the raw expression.
Wow.
I've always been trying to close those gaps. I've also been trying to close the gaps about, wait, who am I and who am I showing myself to be? There can be a large gap between there, and it's okay. Some people love a large gap, and it's okay. I've always been like, no, I don't want to, it's too much work. I don't want to have to wear this hat and then go, oh, now I'm this. Oh, let me wear this hat. I don't like those entrances and exits and those demarcations. Be like, press record all the time, and you're going to catch some foibles. It's not beautiful all the time. You're going to catch me screwing up and giggling through some things where I'm like, oh, I bogeyed on that one. I was clumsy there. But I've always been trying to close that gap between who I'm perceived to be and who I am. So therefore, back to your first question, yeah, I do give a damn what other people think.
Yeah.
But I've tried to learn my best not to go at the expense of how I think and what I believe. And I know I'll never reach unanimous, but fun trying.
It's just what's so, Matthew. It's just who you are, and you just are it. You don't have to do anything for people to get you. You could read your grocery list and people would get how much integrity you have, but that's just what's so. So speaking of that, I love the stories you tell in this book, all of the stories, especially like little stories, like about how, I love obviously the story I want to ask you about, getting a time to kill. That was so major. But the moment where you traded in your sports car for the truck again, tell them about that. Cause I love what you said. What did you say you lost that you needed to get back?
My hustle.
Yeah. Your hustle. Yeah.
Amongst other things. So I'm in high school. I got a truck. I got a PA speaker in the front grill of the truck. I'm the guy that, like, reaches down, ducks down in my cab, and all my students are going to school in the morning and going, oh, look at Ann, nice jeans she's got on today. And then he looks around and everyone goes, ooh, and everyone laughs. And I pop my head up and they're like, stop that, quit doing that. And we all laugh. I'm the guy that, at the parties, I dance. I'm the guy who, you and I are going to the concert, man, I don't care if we showed up late, we're working our way to the front row. Let's hustle this thing. Well, I'm driving by this Nissan dealership one day and I see this candy red sports car and I decided to pull in. And this sports car's the mint condition and the guy's really motivated to sell. I make a deal right there. I trade in my truck, get that sports car. Oh man, I waxed that thing that weekend. It's got T-tops, cherry red. Oh my gosh. Talk about unanimous. So now I go and I park in the third parking lot. Back there where no cars are, because I don't want anyone to open their car door into the side of my cherry red 300ZX. And I, instead of being on the speaker and talking and hemming and hawing and being in the middle of everybody, the fun, find myself just getting out, getting to school a little bit early, and leaning against that red sports car. Look at me. Look at my red sports car. Girls come by, hey, Matthew. Hey, what's up? You just gonna stay there and lean against? They say it's like you just gonna stay there, and lean against your red sports car, and I'm like, what's up? Yeah. Well, I mean, about a month goes by, and I'm noticing that the chicks are not digging me. All my girls that were friends and everything, they're just like, what's up with Matthew? You know, and I'm like, what? Check out my car, you know? And after school, I'd take them mudding in the truck, and now I'm like going, hey, you want to go cruise T-tops down in my new red sports car? And they're like, no, we're gonna go with Trey Hickman in his truck and go mudding. And I'm like, oh. Well, I start to notice this isn't working.
Nope.
This isn't working. And what I noticed was I was relying on the red sports car. I was letting it try to do the work for me. I quit hustling. I wasn't the fun guy that I was, the engaging guy. And that red sports car cut me off at the heels, and I took that damn thing down. Luckily my truck was still there unsold. I traded back in, pleaded with that guy, I gotta have my truck back, man. This red sports car has screwed me over. I'm in a rut, man. And I got rid of it. I got my truck. Next morning, pulled back in the first parking lot, got on that PA, started messing with antimatter jeans and hustling again, and I was back. I was like, whoo, fucking red sports car.
Yeah. And that there's such a theme in this book of like, you just coming back home to yourself. It's like you come back home to yourself and Greenlights, right? And so I don't know if everybody knows these stories, but thank God you put them in this book. But I believe you were at the Hyatt and you met Don Phillips.
Yeah.
And then he's like, do you act? And you're like, I've done a hand commercial. But tell him what happened, because you are Dazed and Confused to me. Like the whole movie is you. I'm like, I didn't get it. I'm like, I don't understand. You weren't supposed to even have more than like a few scenes. So tell them what happened that night at the bar.
So check this out. So I go to the top of the Hyatt with my girlfriend this one Thursday night. And the reason I go to the Hyatt is the bartender there is in my film class, and he'll give me free drinks. He brings me over a vodka tonic. He goes, hey, there's a guy at the end of the bar. He's in town producing a film. Let me introduce you. His name is Don Phillips. 4 hours later, Don Phillips and I have had quite a few vodka tonics and are getting kicked out because we're loud and obnoxious. I'm taking a cab home to my house. Don's with me. He's going to drop me off. We're talking, getting along great. On the ride home, he says, like, you ever done any acting? And I said, yeah, you know, I was in commercial, and I was in a background of a Miller Lite commercial for that long. He's like, well, there's this script called Dazed and Confused. It's a movie I'm in town producing. You might be right for this small part. Come to this address tomorrow morning, pick it up. I'll have the scenes written for you. Well, I go down the next morning, I pick up the script. There's a handwritten note from Don and these 3 scenes marked. Well, I go home and work on these 3 scenes for 2 weeks. I come back and I read and I get the part. So I've got the part and I'm scheduled to work in 3 scenes. Well, you have to do what's called a makeup and wardrobe test on a set. The movie's already shooting. And what it means is you go to the set while they're already shooting another scene. You go through makeup and wardrobe. You come out, the director looks you up and down. Oh, I like this, change this, da, 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 da. But I was not scheduled to work this night that I do the makeup and wardrobe test. And we're shooting at the top-notch drive-through to burger stand, and it's a scene in the movie. I walk out on the street. Richard Linklater takes a break in the middle of shooting, comes over, looks me up and down, laughs. Oh, this is Wooderson. This is great. Da, 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 da. And all of a sudden, he starts kind of tickling his chin. He goes, say, you know, I figure Wooderson's the type of guy who's been with the typical hot chicks, you know, the cheerleaders and such. You think if Wooderson would be interested in the redheaded intellectual? I'm like, oh yeah, man, Wooderson likes all kind of girls. And he goes, well, Marissa Ribisi's playing the role of Cynthia, the redheaded intellectual, and she's over here in the car with her nerdy friends. And maybe, I don't know, you think Wooderson might, you know, pull up and try and pick her up? I'm like, give me 30 minutes. I take a walk with myself and I start going, who's my man? Who's Wooderson? Because there's nothing written here, and I've been invited to improvise this scene. Next thing I know, I'm in the car with the lavalier mic and about to shoot my first scene in a movie I've ever shot, and there's not a word of dialogue written. So I'm going over in my head, who's my man? Who's Wooderson? What is Wooderson about? And in my head, I say, Wooderson is about my car. Yes, I'm in my 70 Chevelle. I got that. There's one. And I said, Wooderson's about getting high. Oh, Slater's riding shotgun. He's always got a nice doobie rolled up. There's Then I go, Wooderson's about rock and roll. I said, oh shit, I got Ted Nugent's Stranglehold in the 8-track rocking right now. I got 3, and all of a sudden I hear, action. And as I hear action in my mind, I look up and I go, and there's Cynthia, the redheaded intellectual that I'm going to go pick up. And the fourth thing Wooderson's about is picking up chicks. Put it in drive, said my mind, I got 3 out of 4, going to get the fourth. All right, all right, all right. And those were the 3 affirmations for the 3 things that my character did have on the way to go get his fourth. And the very first words I ever said on film.
How am I sitting here right now? What in the heck? Gift of a gift of a gift. I can't. I'm supposed to act cool. Matthew, that is unbelievable. So unreal. Spectacular. And what people don't know when reading this book is that, like, while you're making this movie, which was only a few weeks, your dad passed away and you went back and you kept on and you showed up for it.
I got a call, and I don't know why, but I always find out about death in the kitchen. I don't know why it's always the kitchen. Maybe it's why I love kitchens so much, because it's about that. Anyway, I get a call one Monday night, and the roommate answers it. Hey, it's for you, it's your mom. And I could tell he had a concerned look on his face. I get on my mom. She catches her breath. She goes, hey, Matthew. She goes, your dad died. And I just, boom, hit my knees. I gather myself, drink a couple cups of coffee, and make the 3.5-hour drive back to Houston that night. Got in very late. Family was still up. We stay up. We have a wake. There's friends come in. People tell stories on him as he wanted. And then we have, 3 more nights of being up till 3 in the morning in the kitchen, is where we always sat and talked about these family nights, talking about dad and everything. Tears have dropped, all kinds of stuff. And then my family tells me after about 4 days, you got to go back. You got to go back and finish the job you started. That's what dad would want you to do. And so I go back, and the first night back happened to be the last scene that's in the movie. It's at the football field. And I'm walking around the stadium at sunset with Richard Linklater, the director, who's now become a good friend. And he was like, we started talking about, like, what's it all about? Like, he's like, how you doing? And I was like, man, I'm okay. My dad's gone, but I think what it's about is that I can still keep him alive. I can still keep his spirit alive, even though he's physically not here. The things he taught me, the things that he's incentivized me with, the values he's instilled in me, I can keep those alive. You just got to keep living, man. I'll keep him alive by keeping his spirit alive like that. And that night on the football field, it actually came out of the mouth of another improvised situation where Randall Pink Floyd's wanting to sign the contract or not. And I go, man, you do what you need to do, but they're gonna make more rules upon you later in life. But one thing you gotta do is you gotta keep living, man. LIVIN. And I remember writing that down from then on, going, JK living, all lowercase, because you can't own life. So don't make it a proper noun. And I said, there's no G on the end of living because life is a verb. And that came to me through my relationship of trying to understand how I was best going to be able to get through losing my father. And it's something that stuck with me since, because I haven't found any situation that just keep living doesn't apply to. There's a just keep living choice at every turn. And so I'll continue to have that as one of the flags in my banner until I see a place it doesn't make sense with, which so far.
And how many seniors use that as their quote for their senior quote in their yearbook? So many. And you did him so well in this book, because I even said to my husband after I read it, I walked in, I go, you know how, like, there's so many friends of ours who keep, talking about what their parents did wrong, and their parents didn't serve them here, and their parents were like that, and my dad yelled, and my dad hit, and all this stuff. I feel like I love your father reading this book. Like, yeah.
It scares some people. Some people, their hand goes over their mouth.
No. I love him, and I love that you love him. And I love that you got that night about the pizza, that he was doing what he knew for what he could do with the tools he had.
Yep.
He wanted to instill in you, just tell me the truth. And that you got that, right? Yep. It's awesome. Like, I feel like this is part of why you have such a blessed life, I think, is because you don't blame anybody. You're not a victim for anything. Everything was there to teach you wisdom.
Yeah. I mean, that, my family practiced, what do you call it? Corporal punishment. You got the belt. I say it in the book. I mean, there are times I was like, will you please ground me like my friend?
Right.
No, because that's taking your time away from you, and your time is valuable. Bend over, we're getting it over with. It was always like quick, bam, ow, never injured, just hurt, and it was over. You cried, and it was over. Well, the things I remember, and there are values in this, is why I always, when people go, why do you always tell stories of punishment when you talk about the love story of your family? And there's a couple of reasons. One is that the reasons we were punished was they were instilling values, and I'll
Yeah.
get to that in a second. The second was even the violence with my mom and dad. It never could puncture the bubble of love that was around
Mhm.
our. It never even never questioned that it. Oh, does that mean you don't love you? No, we use it all the time. I love you. I just don't like you right now.
Yeah.
Oh, there's a big difference. But the values of this got my first butt whooping for not answering to my name. Got my second one for saying I can't.
Yeah.
Got my third one for saying I hate you to my brother. And my fourth one for lying. Now, those are antonyms. What does that tell you? Always answer to your name, know who you are. Say I'm having trouble, not I can't. Don't hate, and don't lie. Those are four pretty good reasons to get your butt whooped if you don't do those things. And so there were values instilled in the discipline that my parents gave us. And, my dad, that night you speak of, I'd stolen that pizza. I knew about it. Of course, I came home and I groveled and thought I could get away from it. And kiddos
Right.
out there, if you've ever done something wrong, like steal a pizza or whatever, if you come home and your parents go, "Did you pay for the pizza?" It means they know you didn't. So just
Right.
say, "No, I stole it." And anyway, I did not do that. I think, I mean, and my dad asked me again, and I could see he was just getting exhausted because he wanted me to just have the guts and the courage as of his son to go, "Yeah, we stole it." He would have gone, "Well, buddy, I've stolen plenty of pizzas in my time. Ah, dang it. Now, here, let me tell you how to get away with it better," or whatever. You know what I mean? It would have been
Right.
like coming together. But because I groveled and I kept lying and had my tail between my legs, I remember hopping off the bed. He goes, "I'm going to give you one last chance. Just tell me," he said, "did you know that you were going to steal that pizza?" And I did. This is after I'd already said it, didn't it? And I went, "Well, I mean," and he, boom, came off and backhanded me. And I mean, I crumbled to the ground, not because of the strike, because my cowardly little lactic acid legs, who knew I was lying my butt off, just cramped up on me, and I'm like, felt so ashamed of myself. And my dad, I saw the pain in his face, just like, "Man, just what have I done? What do I need to do as your father? And you don't lie to me, son. It wasn't about the damn pizza. It's that you're lying to me." Great value in that.
Yeah. And let's talk about your mom for a second because I love, oh my God, I never knew the story of A Time to Kill, but that moment, that scene, you paint that picture, Mother's Day, and she says to you that thing that she said to you before, which is, you say it. What does she tell you?
Well, it's Mother's Day. I'm going to go in for a screen test for A Time to Kill that Joel Schumacher, the director, had set up. And he set it up it was on a Sunday, Mother's Day. He set up in a very private little studio because he goes, "I don't want the industry to know about this because even if you do great, you're probably not going to get the job. And I don't want to go on your record as, oh, I tried to get it and didn't get it." And before the car, one of the first black cars that ever picked me up, came to pick me up, I called my mom. And I remember her saying, I think she said, "What? Don't walk in there like you want to
Like you
buy
want to buy it, walk in like you own
like
it.
you own it," which was like, that's what mom was always good for. She's always like, just I'll trump your confident gesture right now. You walk in there like you own it. You are the character. Go do it. And I go in there, and there's a full jury set up. It's like a full scene in a movie, 30-person crew and everything. And I go out, and it's the final summation that we're doing for the audition. And I do the final summation word for word, hit it, nail every point. It was really good.
Hmm.
Not great, but it was really good. And then Joel goes, "Great, Matthew, great. Now throw the script away and just say what you would say." I threw the script away. And I went in my head, the scene is they're trying to get a
Oh
man
my God.
who murdered the men who raped his daughter. So I started thinking about if that was my daughter, if it was my sister, and I started talking, no script, and just got heated and was like just salivating at the mouth and saying words that you cannot say in a courtroom. But I'm going on and on and I'm just getting on a run, and I've got this jury going, whoa. And all of a sudden, Joel in the middle of my stream just goes, cut, cut, cut. Got it, got it. That's enough. Thank you, Matthew. And what he wanted to see was, could I get to the emotion? Forget the words, could I get the emotion? And then, whatever, 3 weeks later, I get a call and I got the job. It was for A Time to Kill, and showed up and did that job. And that movie is what really put me on a major map.
Oh yeah, I remember it well. I think the whole world does. And I love what you say about walking down Third Street Promenade to get your tuna sandwich. And you're like, there's like 400 people. I think 3 people turn their head. And then I go the next day after the movie opens. And what happens?
Well, the world, the Friday before Time to Kill opens, I'm walking down the promenade, 400 people, 396 mind their own business, 4 people staring at me, 2 girls think I'm cute, and 2 guys like my shoes. Now, cut to the Monday after opening weekend, I walk down the same promenade to go get that tuna sandwich, and the world is inverted. Now 396 are staring at me, and 4 aren't, and one of them's blind. So it's Friday before Time to Kill, I want to do 100 scripts. I'll do anything to do any 100 of these scripts in front of me. Well, 99 knows you can't do these. One of them you maybe can do this one. Now cut to the Monday after Time to Kill, inverted. 99, yes, do this one. Yes, you can do this one. Any of these. I'm like, whoa. This is awesome. Great shit. I think, wow. I'm famous. What do I do with all this affluence and options? How do I not be a tyrant of myself? You're supposed to ask me, you're asking me what I want to do? When 2 days ago, I would have done any of this and couldn't. And now you're telling me you can do any of it? You want me to be discerning? I think I need more than 24 hours in a day, but last I checked, they're not given anymore. So I took a walkabout, and as you said, you mentioned earlier, I've taken many calibrations and recalibrations in my life where I'm like, I gotta go get away where I can, my head, my heart can get more aligned, and I can let memory catch up to me, where I can honestly feel my feet on the ground.
Oh my God, Matthew, you're so amazing. So many of our listeners would love to have 1 ounce of 1 ounce of 1 ounce of your life, of your success. And curious what advice you would give to people who feel like the biggest thing I hear from our audience is, it's not possible for me. There's no room for me. So they give up, they take 1 hit to the jaw and they're out.
Right.
And your whole thing is about really showing up and getting busy living. So what do you say to people who don't think that, they think that there's just magic for you, like that's your destiny and it's not written in the stars for them?
Look, there's a lot of things that I have no explanation for, of green lights that have fallen in my lap. Good fortune, me being in the right place at the right time. Look, what happens if I don't walk in the bar that night? What if I don't say to Joel Schumacher, hey, I think I should play the lead role? So I've had some good fortune that has no science to it, that I can tell, happened to me. I'm in a place where I'm fortunate enough to have started something and have a career that I love. I don't know if it's fair to say to everybody, just do what you love. Well, no, there's some things we love to do, but we're not, maybe not really fashioned to do. There's some things that we can work our butt off. Like if I want to, man, I love basketball. All right, I want to be a Washington, now called the football team, running back when I was young. Well, 5'11", 3/4, 190, and wasn't going to cut it. That was not going to happen. As much as I wanted to do that, I don't have the innate ability to do that, but just even physically. So where can we match our innate abilities with our giddy up, with our hustle? Where can we go? I have a natural affection for this. I think I'm turned on by this. I think I'm good at this. My friends tell me I'm good at this thing, and I'm willing to work for it. I'm willing to hustle. Yep. I'm willing to out-prepare the person next to me. I'm willing to compete, to be more competent at that so-said job. That is one thing to initially look at if we can. and say, where can we match in our innate abilities,
Yeah.
which we all have different innate abilities, with our work ethic?
Yeah.
So sometimes it's about persistence. I've gotten a lot of things by resilience and persistence, and I've out endured the situation. But at the same time, if you're persistent pursuing the wrong thing, you're acting out the definition of insanity,
Right.
meaning you're banging your head against a wall, trying to break something down, and even what's on the other side of it may not even be for you.
Yep.
And I've been guilty of that too. So the next option, if you don't want to just out endure somebody, which is a good one. A lot of us, I think, quit too soon. And I think there's a lot of people that don't get what they want because they quit too soon, or are afraid of the failure, or afraid of taking the risk of the failure, which I'm trying to still learn in my life. Who gives a shit?
Right. Right.
Who cares? Talk what you said earlier. It's the things that we don't try. Give it a try. Who cares? And every time you think you're going to be embarrassed if you fail, almost every time the other people, you think it's worse than you think you failed worse than they think you failed.
Mm-hmm.
But if it's not endurance, if it's not about endurance for you, which it might be, the second thing would be pivot. All right, wait a minute. I am banging my head on this wall, and I am working my ass off, and I'm breaking a sweat every day trying to make this work, and it ain't happening. Do I need to reapproach this situation from another angle? Do I need to back off of what I think I know and have another look, another approach, look at it from another POV? Because sometimes you do that and you go, oh, I've been banging my head on it, but I forgot to look down. There's a doorknob. Oh, just open the door. You know what I mean? Or
Yeah.
dance around the situation. Come into it dancing through the raindrops instead of coming in like a bull.
Yeah.
Ballet your way through it sometimes. So those are two things. And a tool that I bring up in the book is, when faced with the inevitable, get relative. But when do we deem a situation inevitable? I'll say this. I'm somebody who likes to write the headline before I write the story. I'm someone who likes to, let's paint the poster of the movie before we start shooting, just so we can kind of see where we're going. It may change by the time we get there, but let's write this headline and see if I can will this into power and realize this, a la the Dallas Buyers Club thing. We just put that up there. We wrote the headline. We're doing it. And we willed it into happening. And enough of us did not flinch, did not ask permission, that it willed into happening. There's definitely certain circumstances, though, where you write that headline and make that poster and you go after it, and you're not even evolving on the way there. It's just the wrong track.
Yep.
So when do we deem it inevitable? In a situation of, I'm either doing this, it's happening, or maybe the inevitability of it's not. And then how do we get relative with that? The endurance, or the pivoting I talked about, is the relativity with the inevitable. We all have our own measure of when we deem a situation inevitable, whether a relationship's going to work out. Oh, it's hard. We're going through this hard time with my wife. Well, what's inevitable? That I'm going to out endure this. We're going to work this. We're going to do everything I can to make this relationship work. A lot of times that can be the answer. There are other couples that they're probably best separating, because no matter how much hard work you try and do, you're better off without each other. Now, when we deem that is personal to each of us. Nobody can come tell you that, when that time is. So it's a constant dance between those two. But first I would say, don't do things that are going to sabotage or trespass on taking your own soul away.
Yeah.
I believe in the place where, I call it the egotistical utilitarian. There is a honey hole where we can make choices for ourselves that happen to be the choice that's the best for the most amount of people. I call it where we want what we need and we need what we want. That's heaven on earth. Think about that. If everything we desired was actually what we needed, and it made our mouth water too, it's like the broccoli that tastes good. Like, oh, that's where I want to go, right there. Where is that question that we constantly go? I have to understand that there's a responsibility to freedom, that there's a freedom in responsibility, where those two dance continuously. I mean, again, what's the long view? What's the long money choice that may be hard work right now, but I'm telling you, it's going to give me some green lights in the future. This choice I made is going to give me less debit in my relationships or my career in the future. It's going to it's going to get back to me because I'm starting to get better at it. And I got a feeling I'm going to start looking forward to Monday mornings to go to work because I'm kind of getting good at this thing. And people are telling me I'm good at it and I'm getting a paycheck and let's keep getting away with this. So, make those choices, tee yourself up as much as you can, even down to this simple things. Put the coffee in the coffee filter the night before because sometimes it's hard to make a coffee when you have coffee. And ain't it fun to wake up and go, oh, look at that. I treated myself nicely last night. All I got to do is push the button. So that's a long-winded roundabout answer to ask yourself, try and understand. Talk about this in the book. It's hard to know who we are. It's hard. So if you don't know who you are, get rid of who you aren't. And by process of elimination, you'll have more of who you are sitting in front of you.
Yeah.
And if you match an innate ability with your work ethic and hustle, that's usually your best chance for making something happen.
Yeah, it's so beautiful. And in summing up the book, you actually mentioned what's going on right now in the quarantine and how many people maybe we're searching our souls for a better way forward.
Yeah.
What do you want to say to everybody about that?
Well, first, I hope we don't have civil war after the elections.
Oh yeah, me too.
We've been stripped down to deal with our necessities at this time. It's been fair, it's been unfair. There's cultural revolution, an election year. We don't know who to trust. We don't know who to trust. We start distrusting ourselves. We don't know what to believe in. Our leadership's kind of wobbly. I don't know what politics is. Geez, oh man, who's doing what? So in this time of where so many of us don't know our identity and we're unemployed, we got to cling on to something to give me some purpose. So I cling on to a radical extreme on a left or a right issue. And I'm not even sure what I'm for. All I know is I'm against that. So I don't know how to build myself up right now. So I think I'll just put you down. That'll give me a little breath. Maybe I feel better for a second. Yeah, you feel better for a second, but it's short money. It's short money. We all could use a little amnesty right now. We all could use some resilience right now. It's a good time to ask ourselves, look in the mirror and say, I value, ? What do I value? What's the long game? What's the long money for what we value? I value money. That's fine. I value family. Fine. But what our order in America of what we deem and call you successful for, what we get respect for in America is what? Money and fame. You made it. Well, at the expense, that's fine, but at the expense of what? At the expense of who? At the expense of another broken family because I wanted to go do this and let them handle themselves? At the expense of my own integrity that, hey, I might die with a whole lot of money, but I got no friends and I lied, cheated, and stole my way to get here. And I got a lot of people not showing up at my funeral. And my eulogy, if it's written honestly, is going to be a shitty introduction for the rest of life after I'm gone. What's the long money choices? If we can see it, it's hard right now to see our future and what is the steps out. I think it starts, I don't know how to make systemic change. I think we should challenge ourselves right now to look in the mirror and say, how can I be a little bit better? And if I try to be a little bit better and you try to be a little bit better and other listeners try to be a little bit better, then all of a sudden we do start making collective change to move forward. And I would ask what you value. And that list will change. It changes through a life. What I valued at 20, I value something differently now at 50. Probably have my values will have another sort of order when I'm 60. But keep asking ourselves that and say, what's the stuff that's really going to last? How can we live today in a way that we'll look forward to looking back? Life's our resume. That's writing the story that will be our eulogy. And that story, the life we live right now, will introduce us forever when we're gone. Kiddos out there, every little comment you got online, every little click, remember, they're going to outlive you. Those will be on your resume of life after you're long, long gone. So before you write it, to make yourself feel better by putting somebody else down just for that little instant hit of gratification that doesn't last, remember, do you want that on your life story? Amen. And then also, how about a little forgiveness?
Yeah.
How about a little forgiveness? We're human, Let's quit playing God around here and give everyone a break. And if someone seeks real retribution and is really sorry for something, damn it, forgive them. You know, don't throw your forgiveness around. But if someone really wants retribution for something, say, man, I screwed up. I'm sorry. Try better on it. Give them a little forgiveness. We're all in this rodeo together. And there is room for everybody to win their own proverbial blue ribbon. There's not one ribbon. Not everyone can win the blue ribbon in the same race, but there's so many races to run.
You're like the only person in Hollywood who speaks just so pure in this way. I mean, there's such cancel culture now, and I feel like what you just said, like, if the person's willing to listen, right? Like, can we give this person a chance to then come back and say, like, I'm human and I messed up? It's like, no, they're canceled. It's ridiculous. And
it's what, look, I remember my family taught me this. I called somebody a liar one time when I was a kid, and they go, no. You really, is his whole being a liar, or did he just tell a lie? I was like, oh, well, no, he just told a lie. They go, there's a big difference. Don't throw the blanket and cancel the whole person out. Yeah. You can tell him you told a non-truth right there, and I'm getting you for lying. That is a lie. That we can incriminate. That has consequences. But don't say the whole person's a freaking liar. That's not true, and it's not fair.
Yeah. What's amazing, I feel like every human should read this book, because while everybody right now is in this major pattern interrupt, this pause, right? And I think maybe it's so uncomfortable, it's going to force us to make some better choices. But it's literally amazing, it's astonishing to me reading this book is here in this book, you guys, Matthew's talking about, like, in the peak, I mean, the peak hasn't ended, like it's a nonstop peak for you, but early on, when everything all was, you're raking in and you're like living in an RV, like Airstream, so nicest one, but you're everywhere. Like, you're not settling down in some mansion in Beverly Hills, like, not interested. Like, talk about introspection and giving yourself time to reflect. Like, this period of COVID, you've been taking these moments out from life many, many times. Like, whenever things start to get super fast, you're like, hang on, who am I? What do I really want? And it's pretty awe-inspiring to see. And that's why you've remained so clear and so intentional and so conscientious about your life, because you've taken that time. Instead of just being automatic, you're like, hang on, like, who am I really? Which I don't know anybody else. I don't know any other celebrity who's ever done that, because you're not that. You're you. And you didn't want to get pulled underneath the undertow.
Yeah, look, I've had many times where I have had gone on autopilot, where my certain rules were like, look, just be a gentleman and don't lie, because your frequency's so off right now. Just don't say anything stupid. And I would read those interviews, and I was like, geez, that's a boring interview. You didn't incriminate yourself. You didn't say something stupid, but it's pretty damn boring. And those are times I was like, dude, just autopilot. Just, pour the water in the glass, drink the glass. Don't open your mouth. The old Abe Lincoln thing. Don't open your mouth and prove you're a fool. Keep your mouth shut and make it. So I've had many of those moments. You see, I calibrate and recalibrate. I have been happy when I look back at my threshold for when I felt like, ooh, I'm off my frequency a little bit. I got to go find my frequency. I need to get out of here and go have some alone time. The first 12 days, usually when I go away on my own, are hell. Not comfortable. I do not like the company I'm keeping, and that company's me. I feel guilt. I feel shame. I feel ugly. I feel weak. I feel lost. I feel like bashing myself and do not forgive myself at all for the first 12 days. But I've learned that from early on, those sleepless nights when I was like, okay, I got to pull the parachute. Let me just go back home, or let me go out back to my friends, or go have a drink, go back. Let me just do something to entertain myself till I quit thinking about it. I've learned to go, well, number one, I usually go far enough where I can't get back home, which is part of a trick. Go far enough away where you don't have the choice to pull the parachute. But I've learned that if you stick with it, eventually, for me, I've gone, okay, let's figure this out. What are we going to forgive you for, McConaughey? And what are we going to say, the buck stops here on that? We're changing that about ourselves. And let's work this out, because the only person I'm stuck with is you, McConaughey, so we better figure out how to get along. And about day 12, 13, I usually have a breakthrough of a purge and I wake up. And for the first time, I'm light as a feather and present because I went through the self sort of penance. And I always felt early on that there was some prudence in sticking with it and trusting that you will come out the other side if you don't pull the parachute. Trust the ground is much further away than you think it is. Don't pull the parachute too early. You will come through it and see if you just stick with it, and you'll figure out what you forgive yourself for, what you forgive the world for, and what you're not going to put up with anymore with yourself. And that's when you kind of come out the other side feeling much more human. All of a sudden, I wake up, this always happens. I wake up day 13, I got my wink back. I got my wink back. I'm seeing things. I'm seeing the same thing I saw the first 12 days, but I'm seeing it in a whole different way through different eyes. I'm seeing humor everywhere. I'm seeing smiles. I'm gonna walk by the mirror and wink at myself and go like, you know what I mean? For the first time in 12 days and go like, okay, cool. We're on this journey together, man. Let's do this, McConaughey. So that's me and me. I think there's prudence in doing it. And everybody, there's some moment, this moment in time is maybe giving some of us some time to take that inventory. And I say, if you can, take it and know that it is uncomfortable. Know that it's like, I got to get the hell out of here. But it's a good thing to stick through the times where we're uncomfortable in our own skin. But go to a place where you don't have all of them and all of the things to placate you, all of the attention or where you don't always have someone there to go, oh, it's okay, poor baby. No, go through it with yourself and go, we're going to work this out, me and you. And if you're a person of faith, work it out with God. He, she, it, seen it all. Ain't surprising the God at all. They're just sitting over there going like, I've been over here waiting. All you got to do is come through the door. I'm not going to sit here and solicit you to come. I'm over here. If you want to come on in, come on. And I've found those times when you feel there comes a place where when you feel, for me, I know where it's like, okay, I'm in the palm of God's hand, and whatever someone wants to call that, supreme being, whatever you want to call that, even if you're agnostic, in the palm of the prime mover's hand, right? Oh, I'm nothing. Oh, pop up in that Google eye in the sky and have a look at where we are on the earth, the little dot we are as the earth turns, and notice it's been turning for thousands of years and will continue to turn for thousands or more. And just when we go, oh, none of this matters, is when you go, oh shit, it all matters. Woo! And then in that spot of the greatest and cleanest humility, you find the greatest confidence and power. And I'm saying that for, like I'm saying, and that's why I brought it up, agnostics as well. You don't have to be a believer to understand that. Just go outside and look up at the end of the night and wait till you see a few shooting stars to go, wow, talk about the 4th of July. There's the big show going on right there.
Wow. You're amazing. And I mean, it makes so much sense why we live in such an empathy deficit, and it makes so much sense why you can have empathy and help people meet in the middle, because you come home to the dark night of the soul and you find empathy for yourself and you release any shame. I think people walk around with so much shame that it's so easy to point fingers at other people because we don't forgive ourselves for anything, right? And so we just heap that on each other. And so you are such a lightning rod for goodness and compassion and fun and playfulness. And I love, the last thing I just want to say is that you said, I want to quit acting like me and be me. So I don't know what that's going to look like over the next decade or 2 or 4 or 14 decades, but I think there needs to be a lot more of you just being you and talking and letting us in, because you're just one in a zillion.
Wow. Well, thank you. I mean, we're all on our own, personal journey. I think we all enjoy trying to be our better, truer selves.
Yeah.
At least I think we all want to do that. And what other greater adventure do we have? There's no greater adventure. There's no greater subject. There's there's nobody better to interrogate and investigate ourselves than ourselves. And to forgive things along the way, not forgive everything, because that would mean we kind of don't give a damn. And then we're kind of an anarchist and there's no meaning. No, we want meaning, and meaning has consequences, good and bad, but just to go, well, that's part of the rodeo. And am I willing to ride? Get our 8 seconds in, hopefully. Gonna ride the bull for 8 seconds. This 8 seconds of time, whatever we're in. I mean, why not?
You're the best. Tell us where we can find this book. Tell us where we can be a part of everything that you're doing.
Thank you. So, Greenlights goes on sale October the 20th. All bookstores anywhere. You can pre-order now, whatever the day it is right now, leading up to the 20th. I'll be continuing a tour. I've talked with John Grisham. I've talked with Reese Witherspoon. I've talked with Oprah. I'm going to talk with Dwayne The Rock Johnson coming up. Idris Elba, Ethan Hawke, Woody Harrelson. That should be a colorful talk. And yeah, called Greenlights. And hopefully here's to creating more for ourselves and others moving forward. And this year, hey, we have an opportunity to turn this year, 2020, into a green light. I don't know when that's going to be, but we have an opportunity to pull the assets out of this time and reveal the assets of this time, in this time of a new beginning, this time of our own purge as a people. As tragic as a year as it's been for some, and as awkward of a year as it's been for almost everybody, there are green lights to pull out of this year. And I don't know what they are, but I think we all know they're there.
Totally. I agree with you. Everybody loves the butterfly, but the cocoon is where all the growth is happening, right? It's like all the good stuff. And I don't think when it goes back to normal, whatever that means, people are going to be like, wait a minute, I want to live outside the city. I want to spend time with my kids. Maybe there's something amazing here. And you're the ambassador for all those good things. Thank you for all of this. I can't even believe it. I'm sitting here trying to act like a human, but I'm like, am I alive? Really? You're the best ever. Thank you for being on the show.
Really enjoyable, and thank you for having me. I really enjoyed talking to you anytime.